Hello, this is Sabina at Cross Keys Crafts. Today's card is inspired by two ladies. One is Katarina from Create with Katarina, and the other one is Monika from Monika Wiklewska, aka Paper Mona. And both these ladies, I have been following them for quite a while, and I recently started collaborating with them as well on their fun folds. They always have very elaborate cards, and they do layers and layers of flowers, and I always admired that, but I never do it really. So I need a card for an 80th birthday, so I thought, you know what, this time I'm going to go for this, and I'm going to go really bold. And I have pre-cut flowers and foliage, and I've cut it from glitter cardstock. Katarina uses a lot of glitter. She uses this crystallina to put on top, and I thought, yeah, I'm going the full hog and I'm going to enjoy this. What I have done, I just show you these bits here. I have used 2 poinsettia dies, which I actually don't have here on the front room. So this one was an easy one. It only comes in 2 sizes. I'm not even sure whether it's a poinsettia. And for this one, I have used this adhesive glitter card, and I just have stuck it on some red cardstock to die cut it, and that worked really nicely. I've also got this smaller poinsettia die here. It's a bit more delicate, but that worked well. What didn't work so well, I've got one lot here, but I might dispose of that because it doesn't even look very nice and it didn't cut properly. This was like a thinner paper. It looks like glitter, but it's not. And I just used my adhesive tape and stuck that down on cardstock. But I think this already has got like a foil in it. So together with the adhesive foil, it didn't want to cut. I had to play around with shims anyway. I put some packaging underneath. I put an extra metal shim on top, so that worked fine for the other glitter papers. I've also done the same with a green from that same pack here. So this is red, green, and white, which is really useful for Christmas. And I've also had this double-sided green in my stash, so that worked well with the right shim. So I cut a few leaves from that, a little bit of foliage, and then I had these cones here that I cut a few in gold and then a few in green. I just did a little play with what I had. So have a look in your stash what you've got. And what I've done with the flowers, I didn't do it with some of them, just to show you what I've done. I've just put a bit of dimension in the leaves, so I just bent it around my finger a little bit like this, and I'm sure that's what Monika and Katarina do as well, just give their flowers some dimension, and I'm going to do that as well. Normally I keep all my cards very flat, but this time, as I said, I'm doing the full Monty. So the same with the leaves, quite pliable, and because you won't see the back, it doesn't matter whether it creases a little bit. The glitter itself makes it look very smooth, so I just did that with that. So, and because it's an 80th birthday, and I don't know if you heard me say that, I have lost both of my 0 dies. I've tidied my desk. I've actually rummaged through my bin the other day, making sure I'm not disposing of it in my bin. I don't know where they are. They've both disappeared, and I've only got a very small one left. So I thought, you know what? I have got a Cricut Joy, one of those small die cutting machines that can attach to your computer, and I thought I'd just cut an 80 there. So I did it with the red cardstock first. This is a really thin cardstock though, and I wasn't really happy with it, so I did it in gold as well. The only thing I don't like about this, and I think it's because I'm used to die cutting, is you can see the edge, and I think before I glue this down, I will just go over this with my bone folder and just press the edge down, definitely on this piece here, and I think that'll give a neater finish. And I've just realised there's also a little thing I need to snip off, because obviously the knife that cut didn't match up quite there. But yeah, that's one thing I did. I thought about filming the process of using the Joy, And then I thought, no, that's actually an extra video, and I'm not even an expert at this. I hadn't used my Joy in over a year. So, but yeah, that's something I did off camera. So, and something else I'm doing today that I normally don't do is go large. I don't think I've ever made a big cut like this before. I can't remember, maybe once. So I have cut 2 pieces of cardstock. This is a hammered cardstock. I just thought I might just as well use it. And I've cut one piece to 8 by 8 inches. And the other one I cut to 8.5 by 8. And I scored at a half to create this little flap. I also cut a little bit off the top and the bottom. So this will be the front piece, and this one I will glue on the back. Before I forget to say that, because this sort of hammered pattern has got a direction, and this one's actually going sideways, I couldn't do it this way because I couldn't have had it 8.5 inches wide. So when I put the back panel on as well, I make sure it's going in the same direction. So, and my idea for this card was not just to glue these numbers down and then decorate it with the flowers, but I would like to create some acetate windows. And I will create a panel on the inside as well, to have something peeping through, because I want obviously the inside, the very inside, I want that for my sentiment and my greetings. So I thought I'd go for this size as well, because then I've got plenty of space to arrange the flowers. I could have a look whether I wanted this now a little bit higher to allow for more flowers at the bottom, or whether I want them in the middle. But then the question is whether I think I'll move it a little bit higher. So, and I'm just eyeballing these. I really want sort of even space on either side. And I'm going to take my pencil here, and I want to mark where these, well, basically apertures are. So, just going around there and there. Trusting myself that they're sort of straight. I will actually get my T ruler out just to make sure that the 0 is on the same level as the 8. It's a very useful tool. You don't need it. You can just measure it, but if you have one, it's worth getting it out here. So I'm just checking that again. So, although having said that, with the decorations, if you're not quite centered, it doesn't really matter. So, okie dokes. So, off camera, I will cut these apertures out, and I will also cut pieces of acetate that are slightly bigger than these apertures. I have actually kept in the other room at the moment the inserts from here, so I can use them as a template to cut the acetate out, and I will quickly do this off camera. I have cut my apertures out. I just wanted to show you this. So I have cut about 2 to 3 millimeters away from the pencil line, so the aperture is bigger than this piece here afterwards, because I want this to cover it completely. But then I thought, rather than using these as templates to cut my acetate, it's actually easier if I put my acetate on top of here and trace it with a Sharpie. This acetate, by the way, these are still leftover visors. Yes, they're 4 years old, but it still works. I've got a few, you can see that there are a few kinks in there, but it doesn't really matter. I think once it's been covered. So I'm just placing this over here, and I want to have a generous amount of space to glue this down. Basically the width of my tape. You can have yours a little bit wider, but you don't want it wider than the actual number, because you want this to disappear behind it. So I quickly do this with this as well, and I will cut it out. Oh, by the way, for the apertures, I find that my curved nail scissors are the best ones to do all these curves. I tried with my normal snips, that was a bit tricky, but it's not too bad. So I quickly do this off camera, and then I'll show you how we glue them down. So I have got this really thin tape here, and I think this will be enough to hold the acetate in place, because we will be sort of encasing it afterwards with a letter anyway. And although it's a little bit stiff with the release paper, you can bend it, and don't worry about it getting some sort of kinks. Once you take the release paper off, let's zoom in a little bit more, these will disappear. So just don't hesitate to move it round the corners there. And then it should be fine. If you find you're going off too far, you can even tear it off, start a new piece. I'm just usually too lazy to find the beginning of the release paper, because that can be a pain in the bum. Oh, sorry, I'm going a bit off camera there. I'm just getting my tweezers here. You can use liquid glue with acetate, but I don't always find it that reliable. And we don't have a lot of pressure on here, it just needs to hold the acetate in place. So I'm taking my piece now, just placing it on top, and then I can press it down, and that should do the job. So I'll quickly do this off camera with these two pieces as well. I can now add my numbers on the top here to cover the acetate. I had a little trial run here with some scrap pieces, because in the past I've never been lucky with mirror cardstock and my wet glues, but I'm using the Cosmic Shimmer and that seems to be okay, so it doesn't leave any sort of marks where I had the glue, so that's worth trying. Otherwise you can always use some clear tape. So I'm just applying this onto the letter here, sort of getting that good shake before I put the camera on. Don't want to have too much on, I don't want it to ooze out too much, but enough to hold it in place. I think with a 0 there's no upside down, so I'm just making sure that no white cardstock is showing, and then I'm pressing this down to smooth out all the glue. I will obviously have a slight rim where I had the acetate. Oh, by the way, I gave the acetate a little clean before, but I seem to have a smudge on here and I've got a scratch on there, but that's okay, I will just embellish it. So I'm leaving that to dry for a moment, and then I think I showed you that earlier, I've die cut these in some red cardstock as well, and I will just glue these onto the back just to hide the bigger openings. If you're not too bothered about that, you don't need to do that. I just need to be mindful, I need to do a little test again with a wet glue, making sure that it doesn't show on the thinner cardstock. Obviously you've got the 80 the other way around, but I think this will look nicer on the inside. And then also off camera I will put this flap onto the back card, because I think that makes sense to do it now before we embellish the front. Before I attach my flowers to the card, I want to put the sentiment on, and I have cut it in the same gold cardstock, but I've also cut it 3 times in the leftover hammered cardstock. I just like to recycle that straight away. So I'm just using my two-way zig glue, and this is blue when you apply it, and I'm just putting this all over, just dotting it, but making sure I've got dots where the letters end, so I'm catching all those places. And when this dries and is tacky to be, have the other piece stuck on, this turns clear, so I know this is ready, and this goes really quickly, don't need to wait a long time. So I'm using my tweezers here and then I'm placing this on top. I'm starting with a happy. It's always a little bit tricky, but I'm moving this and pressing it down once I have it in place. You can also pick it up and pinch it a little bit. You can also use another wet glue, then it gives you a little bit more wriggle time, like if you have like the collal. But I find this is the one that's the least messy. And I can, before I press it down completely, I could pull it off a little bit, but I think this is fine. Just pinching it there. So now we'll do that with the other 2 layers as well, and then leave that to the side just for a moment to dry, because then it will get really sort of sturdy for me to apply. Whilst my sentiment was drying, I've stuck it down here. I had a little play with all these flowers. One thing I found is that the 2 die sets work really nicely together. So this die set with this one here, so I can layer those up. This is really nice because it gives me some more options. But I think I've just come to the conclusion that I need to let go of the cones and these here, because I think that these are too fine. I thought if I start introducing this, I need to have some more going around there. And I think this sort of, I reach my limit here. I will cut a few more leaves though to play a little bit along with it. So I quickly do this off camera, create a few more of these, maybe have a look if I've got some other leaves as well that got different shapes. Well, I do know I have them. Question is whether I find them. So I will quickly do this off camera. I might cut them in the lighter green, I don't know yet. And then I will use my hot glue and stick these down, and I think I'll show you one example of how I stick it down and then do the rest off camera again. Do you want to know a trick how to cut 5 petals at the same time? Just cut another flower. I just realised that, a little brainwave, and all I need to do here is basically cut those bits here just a little bit like a triangle. I mean, they will disappear underneath the flower anyway, and then this looks like a leaf, not much different from the actual leaves I have cut in different sizes. So I just did that quickly. So I think the best thing is, because I'm using hot glue, is to assemble these flowers before I stick them down. It will be at one point a bit tricky to slide them underneath. If you use different glue, you can use, if you use like a collal glue, it's you can probably do that, stick them down and then slide these underneath, but I don't trust myself here with the hot glue. So I'm just popping this, a little bit of glue here in the middle, just to put this in place, and you're offsetting the middle so that it looks more natural. I've only gone for 2 layers on this one here. You can go for 3 layers instead of mixing the dyes on this one here. So, and then I will put these leaves on the back, making sure they stick out. So, and I think then I will just glue the whole bit down. I can also manipulate them a little bit if I need to bend them a little bit more. So just using one of these now, just making sure that the one I have cut off, funnily, that faces the inside. Oh, I'm not going off camera there. So, and then I'm sort of testing it as well. Where do I want another one? So I could have a little leaf sticking out the top there. So what I'm doing here is just put a little bit of glue on the tip there, tugging that underneath there, and then I'm leaving that to dry for a moment before I stick it down here. And I will do this with all the other flowers. With these here, I need to be very mindful, really. I need to put a little bit of glue in the middle there, and these also need bending a little bit more. They're a bit more tricky to get some shape into. Just popping in with a little tip. If you have got some excess hot glue like I have here, because it came through the die cut, you can use the tip of your hot glue gun, just hold it on there, don't press, and you can just dissolve that, flatten it out if that's what you want, is what I wanted here, because I want to put some stickers or some Nuva drops on afterwards, or you can actually take it off. So I thought that was a useful little tip. I really like the look of that. I don't know, my camera screen looks really dark, so I'm not quite sure how the camera picks it up, but yeah, I'm really pleased with this. And also have a little look what sneaked into the card after all. This is where I love this foliage. I've got a few little glue threads still left. I think here I tried to put in a little leaf and then took it out again, but I think it'll be okay. So, but before I put any sort of glue drops on here, or like Nuva drops, I want to create a panel on the inside. And what I would like to do is I find in my stash a piece of cardstock, hopefully with a sort of matching colours, but I would like to create another 8 by 8.5 and create a hinge that will go on the top here. I think I'll show you that when I glue it in. By the way, I didn't show you this. I glued this strip here on the back. You could also put it on the inside, but I think it's nicer if it's just hidden in the back. And then you've got the neat edge here. So I changed my mind a little bit about the piece of cardstock I'm putting behind. So I'm not creating an 8 by 8 because I found this cardstock here. This was given to me. This was from a Crafter's Companion card making set, and I really like the fact it's got poinsettias. They're not as bold, obviously, it's the front, but this will cover nicely the number at the top, so I'm not too bothered that it is smaller. So this is actually just under 7 7/8 by 5 7/8. But I wanted this to fit on here properly, so I have just scored an A4 card piece at 6 inches. I found if I did it at 5 7/8, I had to cut this down just a little bit. And I will cut this to just under 8 inches so that I will basically fold it in half. I will have a little bit of an overhang at the front, but that doesn't matter. And then I will glue this onto the front, and probably just with my glue stick, and then I can stick this into the card just on the back here, and this will give me an opening to put my sentiment down. In hindsight, I should have cut this a little bit slimmer. I had cut it slimmer than 8 inches because I knew I didn't want this to catch here, but it sits right against the edge here, and I think it would have been a bit nicer if it had sort of been set in a little bit, but it's fine. So I can put the greeting on there, and I think it doesn't matter that it that there is, you know, that the white cardstock doesn't go all the way down. I might even add a little bit more of pattern cardstock at the bottom. I'll have a think. But I've been working on this for hours now, so I think it's almost time to finish it. Just want to show you on the outside what I'm going to do. I'm still conscious of the poor lighting here, but I think it's because of the white cardstock. It reacts quite with the camera. So I'm just using these Dovecraft 3D Pearl Effects. This is called Bright Gold. And I'm just making sure it's flowing nicely. And I just want to add a few dots to the inside of the poinsettias, so basically to cover the hot glue as well. Just an accumulation here, and hopefully they dry nicely. Same here, just a few less, maybe just the 5 there, and maybe 1 in the middle without messing it up. So, and I think then, as I said, call it a night because I still need to edit this video and upload it for tomorrow morning, and it is 9:30 in the evening now, so I better get this photographed, although the drops won't be dry obviously by the time I'm taking the photo. But yeah, I'm really pleased with this card. Try not to muck it up just on the last step here. get this out of the way. Oh, and I probably just went off camera when I was going around. Apologies for that. So yeah, but I'm really pleased with this. I'm sure the birthday girl will be very happy with that. I think this is a super duper card. Just trying to get a bit of texture in here. But yeah, I think this is fabulous. I won't be able to take photos in the morning, unfortunately, because as I said, I will have to post that tonight. But yeah, I'm trying to get a bit more light on when I'm taking a photo, but it is really, really sparkly, and I think it's really nice. I was even contemplating whether I should put a photo of the birthday girl behind the 0 there. I think that would be nice and cheeky, so I can just put it here on that piece of cardstock there. And yeah, I will find a nice sentiment stamp for the inside as well, but I can do that after filming. I can do that in the morning. It won't be part of this video though. Yeah, and if you like this card too, you might want to give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of what I'm creating, you might want to subscribe to my channel. I'd be very happy about that. And I'll see you soon with another video.